my esteemed panelists introduce themselves. I want you guys to tell a little bit about who you are, what you do, and the way in which you intersect with the workforce. You hire people. Do you work on policy? Like, just share that with the group before we jump right in. And I'll start with my dear friend Angela.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angela Wright. I'm the owner of Wright Hospitality. It consists of four bar brands, excuse me, 3 bars, 2 food trucks. Um, as far as my responsibility within the company for staffing is I'm over hiring. I'm also over training and like retention, payroll, some HR duties that I pass on to other people as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela.
Hi there, I'm
Oh,
Stephanie.
wait, real quick. Can you tell people the name of your bar so people can?
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah.
So I own Mixed Bricktown, which is affixed to Sandbox Lounge, downtown Detroit. I also own Locker Room Lounge and food truck on Livernois, and I just purchased a bar restaurant on the east side of Detroit with a brand that's going to be called Me and You. That's opening in about a month. Yeah, 2 of the bars have food trucks, and then the Me and You brand has a full kitchen.
Yay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Byrd. I am co-owner and second generation owner of Bar and Grille, the Block, and the Garden Theater. I also oversee hiring. I'm not in the trenches anymore, but I oversee hiring, payroll, all the good stuff that takes up a lot of time.
I'm Terri Weams. I'm the Executive Director of Workforce for the City of Detroit. I was formerly the President of the ESC, which is the Michigan Works Agency responsible for connecting employers and job seekers together. In my role as Executive Director of the Workforce, I manage the Workforce Board and am responsible for coordinating all workforce strategy and the Mayor's Workforce Development Board.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dana Williams, and I call myself a recovering HR exec. As Terri mentioned, I have the honor and privilege today of leading the Detroit Michigan Works system. And so that means all of the things that we do to get job seekers ready for and to understand employer needs for their talent here in the city. A small business connection for me is actually quite a bit. Charity and I had the chance to work together through the pandemic when there was so much need in this community. And so together we helped to stand up Detroit Means Business through the DEGC. And I learned so much, both from her individually as well as all the individuals that we had a chance to work with. So an honor to be here today and talk to the people on the ground doing the business of today. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kerry Buffington. I am co-owner and partner of Kapstone Employment Services. We're a full-service staffing agency located in downtown Detroit, and the automotive manufacturing engineering is our niche, but we do a little bit of everything. So food service, hospitality, whatever pays the bills. My responsibility is human resources again, and that's my background anyway. Before I started the company, I worked for Tier 1 and Tier 2 automotive suppliers in human resources. So I do understand some of those challenges that small businesses face. Nice to be here. Oh, I'm also on the board for the Black Business Alliance. Lovely.
Hi, my name is April Anderson, and I am the co-owner of Good Cakes and Bakes. We have 2 locations in the city of Detroit, and I currently do the hiring and training for the kitchen. Because I'm a pastry chef, but I do the hiring for the kitchen and the training for the kitchen, and I do some of the HR things and payroll.
Awesome. So thank you, ladies, for joining. My first question, I'm going to start with Terri and Dana. And I want you to describe what you've seen as you are leading workforce and looking for opportunities and to help solve some challenges in workforce. How would you communicate, or how would you articulate the number one challenge for job seekers?
For job seekers, I'd say the number one challenge is education. And I'm probably a little bit biased. I'm on the Board of Education. And so what we see most frequently is that job seekers lack the skills that are needed by employers. Most importantly, like a high school diploma is a great example. There were at one point somewhere between 70 and 80,000 Detroiters who lacked that credential. So I'd say that that's the biggest hurdle for job seekers. And then obviously all of the other barriers, transportation, childcare, mental fortitude and ability and desire to work, frankly. There are a lot of challenges that Detroiters face right now.
Dana?
Anything to that?
Yeah, I would only add on, maybe even build on to what Terry's talking about around the mental state of where Detroiters are today. We are still, despite the great progress that we've made, we are still a city that is over 20% poverty. So that is a different mentality. We're talking about somebody that needs to get up and go to work every single day. And so we're now really thinking about how we serve customers with that in mind, because it is more than simply a piece of paper and finding some place, a house to live. It is actually changing the mindset of someone to be able to get up every day and go and to be committed to something. So I just want to look that up, put a pin in what Terry was saying.
So to the small business owners who are hiring, what's your biggest challenge?
For us, it's training. It's, I want to say that it's, I'm not sure how to word it, but commitment, meaning that a person comes to work with the intent to do their job, not just be standing there and like basically have the attitude that I'm here, you should be happy that I'm here. So that's definitely a challenge.
Lack of engagement.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Commitment and work ethic.
I think for me, it's like maintaining the culture of the company is kind of like the most difficult for me, because with that, when I'm bringing new people in and training, my managers have to stay committed to the culture, because they're the ones that's on the floor every day with the staff. And then just in regards to like training new people and having a longevity of retention to keep them has been a challenge.
How do you build culture?
From my experience over the years, building culture is, first of all, creating what your mission is, what your goal is, and what feeling you want people to walk away from your space or from your business. That defines the culture to me of what my business is. And then also making sure that the people that my team like can portray that feeling to the customers repetitiously, and it's the repetitiously that comes to a problem, especially generational, depending on what generation I'm working with.
Stephanie, what about you? You got some folks that have worked for a long time at Floods or at the Garden Theater. How do you build culture in that space, especially as a small business owner?
I'd say it comes down to collaboration, and also making sure that you recognize staff. I, for many years, did not value that as much as I should have, and now, 10 years in, I realized that to build culture, many staff members must feel that they are recognized and acknowledged. So I know for me personally, I don't need much recognition and acknowledgement. I love being on this catalog. Thank you very much. But I can go a long time without someone saying, how you doing? And I think as ownership, we don't necessarily need that. Also, we see the money, of course, we see the dollars. So that's enough for us. But to tap someone on the shoulder and take a moment and recognize them, it speaks volumes. And it really helps build a strong, trusting culture based in appreciation. And that has taken me a long way over the last few years.
And to piggyback on that, at the moment that I learned that I was investing in, like, I'm doing more investing in human capital than I am in anything else within my company, that's when the game changed. So like she said, when it comes to recognizing people and making sure that you put certain things in place that's going to cost you money, put it in the budget. It's going to cost you money to make sure that your team members feel appreciated for the service that they're providing to your guests.
Any other additions to the culture question about building culture?
No, that works. For us, it's because we're triple bottom line. We've always put.
What's triple bottom line,
Yeah.
April?
So triple bottom line is putting people, planet, profit. That's the order that we run our business. Making sure that our team from the beginning offering full benefits, livable wage, paid time off, was has been part of our mission since we started. Planet, making sure that we are minimizing our carbon footprint, making sure that we're using compostable, everything compostable within the bakery, but also teaching our customers how to compost it. We're like at an 86% zero waste kitchen, meaning that we use everything from the beginning to the end of it. And then profit. Profit is last, but of course we need profit, but that's not how we plan our business. That's not how we run our business off of that. We run it off of making sure that we're focusing on those top two pillars first.
So my next question then goes to maybe Terri and Dana, or maybe you guys may have this experience. To be able to do the things that you're talking about, running zero waste and having the triple bottom line, or like you said, human capital requires money to invest in human capital. What are some opportunities or programs that entrepreneurs may not even know about that exist to them to help them build culture and invest in the necessary training for their teams?
So to start, when I think about investing in people, I think about things like training. When you invest in someone in their education, in their on-the-job training, I think that starts to build culture. That's something that public workforce dollars actually support. Every year, the state provides GoPro dollars. Annually, I think DESC receives somewhere between $2 and $4 million to help organizations train incumbent and new workers. So that's something that you should be tapping into. The Detroit Michigan Works Agency, DESC, Detroit at Work, can help businesses with those applications. We also provide barrier removal supports to employees. So I would say that employers should be connecting with us to understand what benefits might be available to your employees. There are lots of programs across the whole city that offer, first 30 days of transportation for free, TriShare for childcare, where you can help your employees pay for the cost of childcare. It would be 1/3 cost to you as an employer. The employee pays 1/3 and the state pays 1/3. I also look for any opportunities to offer your employees pay that is not pay. And what I mean by that is, for a lot of people, as Dana just mentioned, they're on public assistance. And we've noticed that some participants or job seekers look for jobs that pay a low wage on purpose, specifically so that they don't lose their benefits. So as employers, if you're investing in your employees and creating that culture and that family, offering things like transportation or childcare vouchers or food assistance or things like that that don't go into their wage for purposes of calculating their benefits, I think those can also go a long way.
Absolutely. And the system can also partner with you to help you understand what's going on in your culture. So we do a very cursory level kind of HR consulting. We say, folks are leaving. Well, let's look at your onboarding plan. People are leaving because they don't feel like they have what they need from the start. Or to Terri's point, your compensation is actually much less. And when I say compensation, it means both the benefits and the pay, right? Than others who are your competitors in the area. So we can help you do some of that. And also give you a little bit of insight into what that initial culture is. The panelists here have already really talked about it, but it really is about employees first and customers second. For a lot that may feel backwards, I'm so glad to hear the business owners really saying that that's what it is, because that is what we'll be able to showcase once you're out there actually doing your business. If you're taking care of your employees, they will take care of your customers.
What are some, and I know you guys might have some, you guys have been in the game a little bit longer. What are some pay not pay ideas from maybe like what Terri said, some things that maybe you've done or seen in the ecosystem? Maybe April, you got some, what are some things you do that's pay not pay?
So we pay for our staff to pay for them to have a gym membership at LA Fitness. We our bakers, they get a $400 stipend for shoes each for the year, and then we also have implemented where we pay for this is kitchen people, bakers. pay for them to take classes up to $500 a year, like decorating class and stuff like that. Yeah. So all these things came because of Michelle.
I was gonna say, where did the
Michelle.
shoes come from? And can I work there?
So-
$400 shoes. I was just wondering.
The shoe idea came from, so I had seen this lady online. She has a store, a bakery in Mississippi. And when we was doing shipping, we were scaling our shipping. She was doing what we wanted to do. So we actually went down there and spent 2 days with her. And she walked us through like how they moved from their bakery to their shipping out of the warehouse. That's where the warehouse part came from us. But one of the benefits that they had was is that she does every 3 months she give $120 for them to buy shoes for the kitchen people, make sure they have shoes on the ground. And so Michelle was like, oh, we should implement that. And I said, we can't implement that right now. Not yet. And so then in 2023, we implemented it, and it was just like $500 for the year. I think it's $400 or $500 for the year. So that was something Michelle wanted to do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I would like to add, one of the things that we did as an employer was offer a concierge service to our employees. So you could call this concierge anytime. Actually, it was just on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they would do errands for you.
Oh.
So they would go grocery shopping for you. They would stay at your house and wait for the cable guy between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. window times. They would
Drop off your Amazon packages, returns. That was huge.
They would help you with Christmas shopping. They would help you. They were basically your assistant. So that was something that I found was really.
Terry, where did you do this at?
So I
at
experienced this.
DSC?
Yeah, DSC.
Oh, wow.
I experienced this years ago, and I'm a CPA by background. I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers for about 20 years, and we had a concierge service. And I remember using them for all kind of ridiculously odd things. I was after I had my first daughter, I had to go out of town, and I needed help with transporting her food, and so you couldn't ship milk internationally. I was actually in Canada, so this concierge drove and met me halfway and picked up milk on a daily basis and drove it back. Like that kind of stuff. I left my my laptop at the airport. She picked it up and had it shipped to me. Like just stuff like that was really, really helpful. And the whole organization could use it.
One of the things that we do is because we're a small business, so our healthcare is so expensive and it's age-based. But, excuse me, when people sign up for our healthcare, we pay $100 towards their monthly premium to give them, it's $320 a month, you pay $220. Because we want to make sure that you have the healthcare that you need, but you can also we can also help you make it more affordable.
Have you guys heard of Plum Health?
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you use?
We used to when it was just 5 employees, but now
Okay.
when we have 19 employees, we don't. But we do use the state of Michigan employment for our team, and it only costs us as the employer $165
A person?
per person, and they only have a $10 deductible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
That's right. I need you to say that loud and go slow.
It is the state of Michigan. It's health choice through the state of Michigan, and it costs us as the employee, we pay maybe it's $165 a month per employee, and they pay $10 deductible to go see their doctor. And that includes health insurance, that includes dental, that includes, and then we have better health for their mental health part.
Better help.
Yeah. So
I'm inspired.
and it's right here, down Detroit. It's down here, right here, Detroit. And you called, and he came to us. Michelle looked it up, and he came to us. He filled out the application, and there's no open enrollment. You can add people every month as long as you do it by the 28th of the month. It goes into effect on the first month. So they come on April 28th. They sign up on May 1st. They have insurance. Yeah.
That's amazing. Because one of the things we see even at the Black Business Alliance, a lot of our business owners are small and micro businesses, and trying to provide healthcare
And
is
there's no minimum.
a challenge.
There's no minimum.
The
People
other
have to sign up.
The other thing I'll say is that you guys
Yeah,
should look into Plum Health. It's
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Paul Thomas. He has a subscription model. It eliminates the insurance companies completely. It's $85 a month. And you don't need to go to urgent care. He is your doctor, and they've got like 5 locations around the state. This is not for emergencies, right? But for the most part, it's amazing. They also give prescriptions at cost. So you're getting your blood pressure for $2 for getting your birth control for $3. It is an amazing. I met him in like 2008.
What's the man's name?
His name is Paul Thomas. We're actually going to do a pilot with him and our members.
He has a location in Portown.
Yeah.
He just opened in Royal Oak.
Oh,
Step
nice.
on Atlanta now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
gonna step it up. I was gonna tell you
Yeah.
guys what we were doing, but
Yeah, no.
no. We're gonna.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we're inspired. So we're taking notes.
Yeah.
We're taking notes. We just provide, transportation when needed. But that's
That's
good.
huge.
Between Ubers and
Okay.
management taking folks home, it is actually, when you mentioned it, it is a major issue. It's transportation. It's a constant issue. And we're trying to navigate that. The expenses are growing, so now I know
So you
that-
should have your employees come and talk to us if they live in the city of Detroit, because we're
Yes.
trying to move away from Ubers, to be honest with you. That's a very short-term solution when the real problem is
License,
needing a
probably.
car or a
Yeah.
license or
Yeah.
a car repair or something like that.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely. And we
No,
just started
it's
a.
not a bottomless pit.
You get a car, you get a car.
We just started a self-care series for the Garden Theater. I hope to expand it. And we have just started providing a masseuse, because I noticed that so many of my managers are incredibly stressed. I have slowly been stepping out of some roles. And someone's like, "Oh, you look refreshed." In fact, I'm looking over here at Kenny, and one day I ran into Kenny. He was like, "You look tired." I'm calling him out, and I'm like, "Yes, I am tired."
Right.
So I want to provide some relief to management. I mean, to be
Yeah.
honest, I'm really
Right.
tired.
Santa as her friend.
Right. But I wanted to, I enjoy massage, so I knew my managers would enjoy that as well. So I hope to expand that. It may look different for different positions. I don't know what's needed. The shoes,
Yeah.
we're taking great notes over here. Like, I know my staff would enjoy new shoes, because they're on their feet all day and it's very taxing physically.
And that's something that we can provide as well. We have some dollars, again, not a bottomless pit, but for tools and attire and things like that. So if folks are tight, or if you guys need some support, be sure to certainly access to try to work for that too.
And I wanted to say, as far as culture, sometimes when you running your own business, or when because everything you start, that person, you're starting from a dream, right? So you talk about what your culture and your vision is, and sometimes that's not you. What you want your company to be, it doesn't mean it's you. And so I was just going to say that it is very important that you live and if you can't become that, then the next person that you're able to hire, you need to find someone like that, because that's what people see every day in your business. Is you can tell me one thing, but what I see is something different. So if I'm not, like me and my business, I got probably the smiley face, but she's more about the money, right? So I know that I'm the person that they need to see. Good morning, how are you today? She might walk back and be like, so just make sure that you saying you want to be one thing, that's what you have to really try to display. And sometimes that's not you. So get somebody who is, or get a program that makes you guys that way.
How much money would you guys say, small business owners, that you're spending in training a year? And how much are you spending in training a year? And have you gotten support for that? And actually, if you're a small business owner, like Kenny, I know you got some restaurants, like you can chime in. The reason why I wanted to do this way is so that we can talk about challenges and solutions at the same time. And so it's just data, I think.
That's a good question. I can't give you a number.
Okay.
But I spend a lot. More so I spend a lot because of retention, keeping employees and retraining employees. Every employee that comes into Good Cakes and Bakes, it costs us $8,000 to train them for just the first 90 days.
Wow.
Between labor, food errors where they messing up something right, food costs, uniforms. It costs $8,200 is what we have on our business cost for 90 days to employ somebody. So if you're doing that, if you're training new people every 3 or 4 times a year, that's very expensive.
Yeah.
And if yes, they could. So just so you know, if you're operating a service-based business where the delivery of your business requires people to deliver those services, for you to spend 20% annually of your revenues on your people costs is appropriate. 20 to 25%, because that really is, that's the face of your business. They're delivering your product, they're doing everything. So if it's 20%, that's about right. And the average cost of turnover typically is about $5,000 to $6,000 per person generally. So if you're in a service-based business, for it to be a little bit higher than that also aligns.
Can I just ask a question? So, the program that I talked about earlier, Going Pro, pays for some of that.
Yeah.
How many of you are familiar with Going Pro?
No.
Okay, one person. So, two, all right.
So how do you access that?
Call us.
I'll walk down the street for a cookie.
I can give you cookies.
That's right. I walk down the street.
Oh, we have to tap into
Yes.
those types of resources. Going Pro dollars. Now, I can't guarantee that you'll be accepted, but we can help you with that
So
application.
let me ask you about Going Pro. So I'm familiar with Going Pro. How does that work in restaurants, let's say in food service, right? Because my understanding is that you're working toward a certification, right? How does that translate into like a Good Cakes and Bake or a Rosa coffee shop?
Does it always work in a certification?
It needs to result in a credential.
Yes.
For restaurants, what I have always said is, isn't everybody doing ServSafe?
That's what I said.
Yeah, so ServSafe counts as a credential?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's the 2 to 3 day beginning or
No,
the
that's
more
great.
advanced for management.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yep.
Say less.
Yeah.
Say less. So yes, it is. So, and I feel like we should just, I got the team here, just have a day where you guys come in, talk about Going Pro, and also we can get the state of Michigan and talk about that healthcare program.
And Terri, we should do that soon if we can. The second cycle for Going Pro actually opened yesterday. So we're in the middle of applications right now.
I think it's twice a year, right?
Twice a year.
So-
So if we don't catch this time.
So we're gonna
get.
get something on the calendar within the next 3 to 4 weeks. Is that,
Sounds
when
good.
does it close?
Yeah.
We've got 8 weeks.
Oh, we should probably try to, and then we could just do a lunch and learn here.
Yeah.
And so Bree
The
is gonna
good
make.
news
Oh,
is
good.
that, the application process is supposed to be a lot simpler. It's still a little cumbersome, but it used to be way worse. But it is a little time consuming.
Okay. Yeah, basically what it is the state is providing funds to help employers offset training costs, but they need to be working toward a credential. So my biggest question was, in the restaurant industry or the coffee shop named Rosa, I don't know, what might that credential be? And then, yeah, you guys,
For management, I'm not sure.
So
I'm sure we
there,
can
I just
find
know that there
something.
are multiple levels of the ServSafe application. I know there's a different one for
Mhm.
leadership or management, so we can do
Right.
kind of a combination of those kinds of things.
that's awesome. That's great. Okay, so what time is it? Yeah,
Like 42.
42. Okay, cool. So one of the things that, even if we think about Going Pro, right, this is where kind of my favorite part comes in, is policy, right? At some point, somebody makes a decision that the state should fund a thing, right? Generally, the city of Detroit is probably applying to the state for a portion of those dollars because it's a statewide policy. It's not a bottomless pit. How do we make it a bottomless pit? And I'm being facetious. Obviously, nothing is ever a bottomless pit. But what do you need from small business owners and from us that are hiring to put pressure and to advocate such that there are more dollars available for us to take advantage of as we're trying to do these things to retain and hire staff?
I need more small businesses to make noise. There has been
That ain't
a
no
lot
problem.
more. I mean,
Yeah.
the governor has put more money into Going Pro in the last few years. I mean, significantly more money. But Detroit is not participating
Right.
representatively across the
Yeah.
state. I'll just say that. So we
Probably
need
just
more
about it.
Detroit businesses to apply. That's
Yep.
what I'm gonna say, and to make some noise.
Right.
And accordingly, so we're actually facing some even larger policy changes within workforce development. So we really need your voice now. In fact, I've got a sample legislative letter that we can probably run tomorrow. She said, come on. To begin to get business voice, because Terry's absolutely right. It is less about, yeah, that's nice for the people, but what is business saying? We know that's important really in this political climate as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this question to all of you. If you had a magic wand, right? You had one thing that you could wish for as it pertains to entrepreneurship and workforce development. So it could be, I want the state to provide, free health care to people that work for, without regard to their income, people that work for small businesses, 10 employees or less, something like that, right? I'm just throwing it out there. What is your policy magic wand? It's important for a couple reasons. One, I want Terri and Dana, I want you guys to also say what you want, but also it's great for you guys to hear, but it's also great for the Michigan Women's Commission to hear what your policy needs are, because that's ultimately the point of these conversations, is to take the needs and say, okay, how can we take this to the governor, and how do we take this to the state to say, what do we need to do? So what's your policy magic wand? Think about where you're spending your money. Think about compliance. Right? We haven't even talked about compliance with laws and regulations. What is irritating you daily? Like, think about all of those things.
I would like.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, I was just gonna say.
It's like a lot of. I say irritating. Everybody starts talking.
I would like an emergency fund for businesses that are, and I guess I want to say the second level, but not just to cater to us when we have to have our hand through a process, but I want some emergency money for us. You can see we've been in business 5 years. We're at a pitfall right now. Where can we get some emergency assistance? And it seems like sometimes when you get to those places where you get in that down spot, you're like rushing. Okay, I have nowhere to turn, or maybe I don't have family to borrow from, or find another investor, or even time to pivot. But everything that's out there is always a process for everything. So I would like to see something like that.
Emergency funds for bin-ups, not startups.
Yes, because I think a lot of stuff is catered towards.
Yeah, it's true.
And I know the Alliance is working really hard on that second level, but I think we need more of that for that sustainability.
Got it. Well,
Excuse me. Mine is a little different. I got a lot, but I'm trying to think of things that don't ask for money, because what could happen that didn't require a lot of funds. And this might be controversial, but I'm thinking about childcare. And I know that a lot of people are leveraging non-traditional childcare, and the government doesn't subsidize that at all. And I
what's
would
non-traditional childcare?
like mama,
Okay.
auntie, neighbor
Okay.
down the street, right? And so I would love for we'll pay for the super expensive, $500 a week, but we won't pay, for a family member to watch your children. So I would love for women, men, parents to be able to choose their childcare option, and particularly if that childcare option were familiar and cost less. Why don't we support that?
Terri, I love that. That's giving me an idea, because technically, for elder care,
I was just gonna say,
It
there's the
applies.
same thing for elderly.
so that shouldn't be a hard thing to look at. And we've been at the Michigan Women's Commission looking at childcare a lot. So that
That is something that has come up a lot. And I think it's friends and family, and the subsidy is like a couple bucks an hour that grandma would get,
yeah.
and it'd just be such a game changer.
And that's really going to address, we got a childcare desert. We don't have enough childcare seats.
Yeah.
We know that there are seats in homes, like people are watching kids every day. If we could legitimize that a bit, I think that's the way to start solving the childcare issue.
Put it in our report.
Yep. What else?
Maybe some costs for like training, for like management training, like hospitality management training, where you see an employee. There's a program, hospitality and training. I know you went through it. I went through like the first course, but it doesn't dive deep into it. It's just like very surfacey. But if there was a deep expansion of a training for management, because there's people who work for you and you can see the leadership in them, but for them to be able to take the training and without a cost to help, that's something that could probably go more pro, because there could be a certification for that at the end of it, but like some hospitality management trainings.
I would love to see the state reimburse employers for supporting their employees with additional education. So to the extent you're paying for your employees to go back to school, to get college credits, that should be paid for. And high school diploma. It's not recognized as a credential. It should be. If you're offering education to your employees, please also consider that first credential, and that should be paid for as well.
Okay. What you got?
I would second what April was speaking on in regards to hospitality training. Specifically like in urban communities, like it can be a struggle to keep a consistent level standard of service. And so that's something that I feel like needs a deep dive and needs to be addressed. And so I know that, I invest in my management and training. I take them to the bar and restaurant conference in Vegas, no expenses. And, send them to the hospitality management course for 12 weeks and stuff like that, or pay 50% tuition for anything that they want to do in regards to growth within the company. But that takes time, that takes money, and that takes resources, that takes them off the floor as well. So if there was some type of like money that can be tapped in to, for as an employee for my particular growth, so I can pass that on for their growth, so they can pass that on to the staff, even a train the trainer type of program, things like that. And then, and so, and kind of pairing in the education sector with the hospitality sector, and merging that in some kind of way, even if you see it in some type of dual enrollment spaces, or I don't know, after school programs or something like that, and just getting people to understand how important service is to the community, like even though you're getting paid for it, and the difference that it makes in the feelings of people, that will go a long way in the hospitality industry, because that's the number one problem that you consistently hear is, oh, their service, oh, their service, oh, their service. That means that there's a huge gap there that needs to be filled in regards to leveling that up. So that way that African American owned businesses can be on more of a level playing field when it comes to our bars and restaurants and hospitality venues.
And really, customer service is the core of every
It
single
is.
job.
It is.
It doesn't matter what it is.
You don't have a business without
And
it.
we were talking about that before we started, how Angela was saying that, like, that's everybody's main problem, but not to target that it's a generational thing, but people, generations below, at least mine, have been brought up differently. Where we got the training at home, they don't have some of that same training of, this is what you do at your job. This is, those kinds, so they lack those kinds of skills. And so for us as business owners, it's like, that's the first thing we have to do when we hire them. And then some of them are like, they'll leave because they've never had that kind of structure, and they're like, nah, this isn't for me. But no, it's a life skill. So
But if I knew
money
I
for
could
that,
jump on-
yes.
If I knew if I could jump on some type of class or framework where it's like, okay, well, they're teaching about how to employ Gen Z today. I'm there and I'm inviting everybody.
Right, exactly.
So
training before the training.
Right.
Well, that's what
you
we're trying to do.
Yes,
actually,
yes.
Because there's value in that.
Absolutely.
I think I'm feeling old because every generation says that about the next
Right.
generation. Our parents said that.
The boomers.
Right.
But we're trying to think about how we incorporate for all of our job seekers some level of what we call career readiness training. We've had some really good feedback on it so far. It started out as like a couple of days. We got some really good feedback from employers and from the job seekers that were in the program. So we expanded it to a couple of weeks. Did we expand it further?
No, just a couple weeks right
Just a
now.
couple of weeks. And we're finding that folks, even the job seekers, when we interview them later on, they say, well, that was really good. In fact, I could use a refresher. It helps them understand just basics like time management, showing up to work on time, conflict resolution, what happens if somebody bumps you at work, like just simple things, self-management. That's really lacking, and I think we've all seen it after the pandemic. It seems like it's gotten a little bit worse. Right. So that's what we're trying to do at Detroit at Work.
Stephanie, you were gonna say something, and then I need your magic wand, April, and then Tammy has a question.
For me, it would be hiring very early on, identifying the right candidate. We spend a lot of time and money trying to identify, in the early
Recruitment,
stages, like identifying the candidate And then the first week or two of training where you can identify
Yeah.
red flags, green flags, and red flags, and you can pivot. And if they have the right training, we can pivot. Because I always ask myself, and our team always asks themselves, you make a commitment. When you hire someone, there is a commitment. And once they're hired, I have to make sure that I've done everything I can do to train them properly. Like, have they been trained properly is what I ask my staff. We have an issue, but have they been trained properly? And what has the training been like in those first 10 days? Because they're so critical. Heck, maybe even 3 days.
Yeah.
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 Because I mean, from my experience, what I've learned is that people want to come in and perform for you. Like they come in excited, wanting to perform, and sometimes over the years, I've had experiences where I know I lost a particular great candidate because of something that I did, as opposed to something that they did, and so I had to, I had to always tweak to try and learn. Okay, so I did an experiment. This is off topic, sorry, but I did. It wasn't an experiment, and I just hired differently this past particular time where we had a job fair, and so open interviews. So 53 people came and applied and had interviews. So I had me and all of my managers. I sat in the middle, and so it was about 6 of us in the panel style, just like this. And so they sat along the front, and we just group interviewed everybody first to get through the 53. So then, okay, who's left standing after that? About 15. So then we did a Zoom interview one-on-one as a team with the 15 that were left. Okay, so who's standing after that? Probably about 7. So that showed me that out of 53 people that we interviewed, I only hired 7. And how many even now, after almost 45 days to 60 days, are left? Probably about 45.
Yeah.
So, so that means that
That's
I'm
about
only
right, just so you know. So it's typically a 10 to 15% yield.
Yeah.
So
that's
we
what
know
I
that.
thought.
We've
So
been
now
doing
I gotta do
interviews on Wednesdays for Rosa.
I gotta do open interviews every other month
Yes.
or every quarter
Yeah.
in order to be able to get good
Yeah.
candidates.
On top of that,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and then that taking them to the training space,
Right.
to retain them, so I don't lose that money that I spent in onboarding them. So
Good job.
Yeah.
Okay. April, you got a magic wand, and then Tammy has
I already got mine.
You gave your magic wand already? What was it?
Training.
Oh yeah, the manager.
Management
I think I'm the
training.
only one who did
Oh,
that.
Dana
And
did
I
it.
just
Okay.
want to quadruple down
Oh.
on the dollars to support the development of the leadership of these organizations.
Yes.
You all have already said it. You've invested in yourselves, but the continued investment into the business owners is where we're going to see, I think, the greatest transformation. You all need the tools to be able to do and run your businesses appropriately.
That's great. I have so much, but Tammy's hand is
So
up
a
in the
couple
house.
quick things. I'm so sorry, Terry. So one is when you were talking, Terry, I was like, that exists, but it's not run through businesses. So there is, but it's a pain in the tuchus, as is any state program. There is the Child Development and Care Subsidy, which is for family and friends and neighbors to do the child support of kids. They have to go through some training. They have to get
It's
some
not
certification, right? Again, slight pain in the tuchus. But United Way actually has in the past, and I just texted them to see if they're still doing it, had nonprofits that were trained to support community members in doing that across the Tri-County area. So I'll let you know whether or not United Way has that. The other thing is for continuing education. There is, of course, the Detroit Promise you all are familiar with for high school students. There's also Detroit Reconnect, right, at the chamber. And that is a program that will allow folks who've done partial college, which is the vast majority of our city, to be able to get back in. It also gives them leverage around renegotiating some of their debt at some of these colleges. And they will actually set folks up with a coach. So I say that to say, as I worked in nonprofits for most of my career, there's a lot of resources out here. I'm actually thinking, truthfully, between DESC, United Way, and where I can be helpful. We could probably put together a resource guide for MBBA members.
I would love it. Thank
That
you,
would be
Tammy.
super dope.
That's a good point. For anybody who's paying for college credits, Reconnect can pay for that.
Yeah.
Reconnect.
And then the question
Michigan Reconnect.
is around
It's
first line
starting with-
managers.
Futures for front.
Oh, yeah. Right, first line managers are, in my experience, what make or break the success of any place I work. And to be clear, they have broken the success of every place I work. So I'm curious about how you all are thinking about investing in your first line managers as well.
All I got is one line manager, Rosa.
What's the question again? I'm sorry.
Investing in your first line managers.
Oh,
That middle management.
Yeah.
that's the right hand, or depending on the business, the left hand. So they are an extension of myself.
Yeah.
So I spend the most time investing in them and rewarding them. But like I said, I will send them to any training I can find. Like if it could be like a nonprofit that just focuses on hospitality training, that would be great. But any training that I could find to send to them, they are going. I'm paying. Hurry up, go.
I'll just say this, we have the one last question and then we'll wrap up. We get this a lot. So I get this. So we have at NEBA, we have a hospitality success program, but it is for entrepreneurs. All of our programming is for entrepreneurs. What ends up happening is because we fill these gaps, our members are like, you should do this thing, but we're not workforce development. We are teaching people how to run their business, right? But it does always open up this question of who do we send people? What is the MBBA for workers?
Yeah.
Where do we send them? And so I'm just putting that out there to say, like, you know, our hospitality success program is for entrepreneurs. We're talking about running your business. Is your business set up? All of these business things. But that training is so connected and it's important. And we need a resource to send the folks to. Some of our members are talking about coming together to like do joint save serve and things like that. But there really is a gap. So
I mean, and it's a deeper level to it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just communication, like teaching basic communication skills.
Yeah.
You know,
Time
interpersonal
management.
time management, calendar management, right? Time,
Oh
like,
my God, yeah.
yeah, all of the
Especially if
what
you
is
have a liquor
hospitality?
So I'd say
So
the
we're-
policy
and I know
change,
what that
Yeah.
is.
we're doing that, but that's
Okay.
not covered.
But I was gonna say, we're talking about, we've been talking with some former BBA folks
Okay.
about that program, and I think we're closer than we ever have been.
Okay. That's good.
But I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
No,
the
but
last
that needs to
question
be
and then we'll wrap up with final thoughts.
Real quick, just to be clear, the young lady, her magic wand right next to you was to
Angela.
interview.
I'm sorry, excuse me,
The
yes.
magic wand was to interview to get the percentage of the employee that you wanted. Was that
I found that to be extremely successful,
okay?
especially when you're in any type of growth phase, or even if you're planning for a growth phase or a phase out phase of some people that you know need to go. You know you know, the group thing can start to infect your business. So, you know, weeding out people. But you gotta, sometimes you hold on to people too long because you don't have anybody to replace them.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that I found that if I do this, you know, every quarter or, you know, every quarter, even though I may not even be in a super need, at least I'm hiring one person that are quality people.
You get that consistent backup.
Correct. I mean, I've even found that within the first 30 minutes, the first people that are there to interview typically are the top candidates. Like that was so much discovered out
I
of
just want to
that
add
process.
to what you said, like, when you're talking about culture, I think top 3 for me is not just hiring the right people, but firing
Yes.
the right
Yes.
people, to be absolutely honest with you. That is
In a
extremely
cancel culture.
important.
And quickly.
Yeah. And
Quickly.
Quickly.
And
Yes.
not only
Yeah.
does it
Quickly.
remove the cancer,
Yeah.
but it you know, it sends a message.
And legally.
Mhm.
You want
But then
more
training,
protect
but then
that.
training,
When you do that.
training.
I'm gonna get to firing them
Yeah.
soon.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Right.
But this is, Angela's over here saying, it's also training managers on how to fire.
Yes.
Hire slow, fire fast. But
Yes. How to release them to be great elsewhere.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. God has a plan. God
God
has
has
a
a
plan.
plan for you. It's not here.
Okay. I'm going to,
Growth out there.
we're gonna wrap up. I don't know, does anybody have, maybe just just a final thought, you know, this is a group of policymakers, but also entrepreneurs. Just share maybe a final thought to kind of wrap up our conversation today. We'll start with you, Miss April.
Something that Angela said before, is that learn yourself first. Because I'm still learning myself as far as a leadership. Learn yourself as a leader first, because sometimes the problem isn't your team, it's you. So making sure that you are the person that you want your team to be. So figuring out your leadership first Because like all business owners are great leaders.
That's true.
Right, all business owners are great leaders. So if you're not, then make sure you have somebody that the in between person between you and your team who's a better leader than you. That's what I had to learn about myself. I'm not a great leader.
You lead in other ways.
Yeah,
That's
in other
what-
ways.
Yeah.
Visionary.
Yeah, but I need an in between person.
Is that Michelle?
That's Michelle.
It was Michelle, but I learned that Michelle isn't. She's a social worker, right? So she's too influential.
Oh,
People
so
be
y'all
like,
need to.
yeah, so we need an in between
For
person.
both of you.
She's like, people be like, oh, I want to take my son to Disney World. She just giving them hours, just be giving them hours. They get a bigger. So we need an in between person.
Yeah. Kerry.
I would say, understand that you're gonna make mistakes and make bad decisions and just do your best to learn from it and not repeat those mistakes. But don't be afraid of you're gonna make mistakes and don't be too hard on yourself. Just learn from it.
Final thought is, it is such an honor to be here amongst all of these business owners. I've been to all of them. I'm very proud of them. And you all are doing a great job operating. We know at Detroit at Work that small businesses employ more than half the city. And so this absolutely is important for us, for businesses as well as for the city as a whole.
I would agree with that, and I would just encourage more gatherings like this so that we can share messages when, asking for a raising of hands, noticing that there were so many people who were not aware. I think, doing these kinds of things in larger group settings, I think is going to be extremely important to share information about resources.
This has been incredibly helpful. Thank you. I project that we spend about $150,000 to $200,000 on hiring and training, which sounds like a big number, but now I'm inspired to spend more, right? So thank you. And another takeaway, something I'd like to share is it doesn't cost you anything to recognize a staff member, and it will take you, it speaks volumes, and it is my most useful tool.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure being here. I have a whole list of notes here. I've been a learner amongst this process in this past hour, just as I hope that you all have. One thing I kind of want to share that I have found in my journey that's important to me is being accountable for my own personal well-being. Like, I can't be a boss or I can't manage or lead unless my well-being is in place. So I just implore people to make sure that you stay on top of your own well-being, because it shows off within your whole team, your whole culture, and then it's also infectious to the people that are around you. So your physical health, mental health, spiritual health, financial health, these things are so important that you kind of like, sometimes when we're working so hard every day and trying to get to the goal or the money bag, that we kind of like let fall to the wayside. But I had to understand that has to come first in order for me to truly be successful in the space that I'm in.
Why don't we give these ladies a round of applause? We're definitely going to do something with Detroit at Work around going pro for MBA. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And we will be compiling, our goal is to have a report from all of these conversations that we're having by August for the governor. And we're planning to some kind of event. So we'll make sure everybody's invited. We make sure we get all of your recommendations, and I'll be working close with Terri on that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Sure, can I have your information, please?
Mine? Before you pass, so I want to just can we get a picture of those two? Yep, let's stand right here. Right here.